What's up, everybody? Basil the White Dragon Masters again, Chapter 11. This time we're going to talk about the UFC post-fight analysis, UFC 169, Barao versus Uriah Faber. I was not the best card for me. I was actually looking, this was a card that I kind of was like, it's there, I'm excited for it, but not very, because it didn't really have a lot of great fights. I'll talk about the last three main fights that were on the card, and besides this one fight that was here that I just saw, which was Jamie Varner's fight. You guys have to see that fight, Jamie Varner versus Trujillo. That was an amazing fight. It was a dog fight, and honestly, I think that was one of the greatest fights of the night. Moving on to the last three fights, I'll talk about the first one, which was a heavyweight bout, weight class of 257 pounds, between Frank Mir and Alistair Overeem. Alistair Overeem, if you guys don't know, is an expert in kickboxing. He came from Pride, and he came from Golden Glory and all that stuff. So, when I knew about this fight, I kind of knew the result, but I just didn't expect it to go the way it did. Alistair Overeem wins by decision. This fight went for 3 rounds, and it went for a decision. And obviously, in a heavyweight bout, you don't really see too many decisions, because big guys, usually when they hit or when they submit you, the fight's over. But this fight, amazingly, went really, it went the entire round. Alistair Overeem really outclassed Frank Mir. I mean, he beat the shit out of him for the first, for all 3 rounds. I mean, there was barely any damage done to Alistair Overeem. In fact, he used a very new strategy by saving his energy. In his previous fights, he used to get depleted a lot quicker, and that's why he lost in his previous fight. And he learned a lot from this fight. He saved his energy the entire time. Instead of just rushing, boom, 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 and then getting tired, giving the advantage to the other guy, he kind of took his time, and he kept going till the 3rd round. He beat the crap out of Mir. I mean, Frank Mir he didn't even have a chance. It's like the only thing I could give that guy is that he hung in there for 3 rounds. But as far as any damage, he didn't even scratch Overeem. He couldn't even go for any jiu-jitsu. He's a jiu-jitsu expert, which is a submission wrestling type submission expert. He couldn't even get one single submission, not even a scratch, let alone a punch on Overeem. So that fight was a little bit, it was a little disappointing, because Frank Mir is considered was considered at least one of the few top heavyweights in UFC history. But that was the fight. The interesting thing about at the end of this fight was when the fight was over and Joe Rogan, the announcer, not the announcer, but the post-fight talker, came up and spoke to Alistair Overeem. Overeem brings up something that I didn't know about. Apparently, Brock Lesnar is coming back, and Overeem announces that, calls him out on the national TV, and that was a shocker for me, because I didn't know that he was coming back. Brock Lesnar, the former UFC heavyweight champion, because he was retired because he had a stomach issue, which was I think it was diverticulitis, and so I thought he quit the UFC, but he's coming back. So that was something that caught me off guard completely. I'm looking forward to that fight, if that ever does happen, because Overeem had already beaten Brock Lesnar. So that'll be interesting. Moving on to the co-main event, which was, I believe, Ricardo Lamas versus Jose. He likes to call himself Jose, because he's from Brazil. So Jose Aldo versus Ricardo Lamas. A little surprising. I didn't know about Ricardo Lamas until today, to be very honest with you, And this fight went on for 5 rounds. Aldo, for literally 4 rounds, he was his leg kicks, his shin bone, low leg kicks that he keeps giving people on the thigh has been everybody's nemesis from the very get-go, and that's where he has the advantage. He keeps shin bone kicking people on the leg, and that's how he wins all his fights. And he kept doing that to Ricardo Lamas the entire time. That was the reason, that was his main weapons against him. But at the same time, Ricardo Lamas amazingly hung in there the entire time. I believe it was the fifth round, and it went on for 5 rounds. So it's not like he got an easy win or anything like that. He went on for 5 rounds. He kept him busy, and at I believe 2 minutes in, 2 minutes out of the 5th round, when there were only 2 minutes left, Lamas was on top, and he was on top, and he was just pounding on Jose Aldo. He was frankly beating him a little bit. Who's to know if there was more time available, if he would have won. He could have won. You never know. But definitely for the first 4 rounds, Jose Aldo outclassed him and beat him fair and square. But very good effort on Ricardo Lamas. I was impressed by him because he did, he stuck there the entire time. He didn't get finished. And at the last round, he actually won the last round. But Jose Aldo won for the most part the entire fight. Now, moving on to the main event, which was one of the major reasons why I ordered this card, UFC, which was Uriah Faber, one of my favorite fighters, versus Renan Barao. Disappointing, very, very disappointing for 2 reasons. The fight went on first; it ended in the 1st round, and Renan Barao punched Uriah in the 1st round. I think that was the momentum of the fight, because that's where he punched him and he went straight down, right? I thought he was done. But Uriah is a warrior. His tenacity is second to none. He's probably one of the best fighters in that weight class. He went on and he was getting beat, and he got wobbly, and then Jose hit him again, and he fell on the ground, and the guy was pounding on Uriah, right? I was thinking the fight was over, but he was still covering, and he was conscious. He wasn't out. That's for a fact. He wasn't out. And apparently the referee, Herb Dean, was asking him, "Hey, are you okay? Are you okay? Show me a sign." And he was grabbing Jose's leg like this, and he put his thumb up, which is a sign like, "Hey, listen, I'm okay. I'm not out." Right? But apparently the referee didn't see that, and he calls it an early fight, and obviously that's how Uriah lost. It was definitely a very bad call by the referee. He should have been a little bit more he should have been a little bit more attentive, and he should have seen a little bit more, because that's a loss on a fighter's record. You as a former MMA fighter, or as an MMA fighter myself, guys like these guys, UFC guys, we train really, really hard. I mean, the camps are very grueling, very tiring, very sacrificial. Everything is just rigorous, and then to lose because a referee didn't do his job right is just it's pathetic. Their job should be to protect the fighter, but at the same time their job needs to be a little bit more attentive, because that's a loss in the guy's record. So that's pretty much it. It was a bad call by the referee. I'm not making any excuses, guys. Uriah was clearly losing, and he was losing this fight. But who's to know if the referee didn't stop the fight, maybe, maneuver here and there, the time he would have gone on to the 2nd round and, maybe gained his composure and whatnot. But that's pretty much my post-fight analysis for UFC 169, fellas. The next UFC that's coming up, which is, I believe, UFC 170, February 22nd, would be between the women's championship, which is Ronda Rousey, versus Sarah McMahon, who happens to be an Olympic wrestler, silver medalist herself. That'll be a very, very intriguing and interesting fight. I really am looking forward to that one as well. So hopefully, until then, guys, Basil the White Dragon Masters, out. Hey-ya!